Welcome to Janus Corporation's IIPP training on working with Mercury or cleaning up a spill at home. A quick aside, the character of the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland was based on a mercury poisoning incident that happened in Connecticut at a hat factory where they were using mercury to stiffen the bowler hats that they were creating. All of the social awkwardness and nervous tics of the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland were based on the symptoms of those people who were mercury poisoned at that bowler hat manufacturing plant in Connecticut. Mercury is not a material we have to clean up very often, but it is a hazard Janus encounters on a significant number of our projects. Mercury is found in thermometers, looks like a silvery liquid, thermostats, blood pressure cuffs, barometers, light bulbs, and high-intensity discharge lamps for sports fields, automatic switches, mercurochrome or disinfectant, float switches, button cell batteries, pre-1990 latex paint, some oil-based paints, old alkaline batteries pre-1996, light-up tennis shoes, old fungicides for seeds and turf, dental amalgam, which is fillings. I have old fillings in my mouth that may have mercury in them. Might explain some of my nervous tics and idiocentric behavior. Some imported jewelry, glass ampoules with silver liquid in them, weight and counterweights in grandfather clocks, and numerous other items. One of the things we work with most often is light bulbs. Which light bulbs may contain mercury? Fluorescent light bulbs that are linear, straight, or U-shaped, circular and coil-shaped compact bulbs, bulbs for bug zappers, tanning bulbs, black lights, germicidal bulbs, high output bulbs, cold cathode fluorescent tubes, high intensity discharge bulbs, metal halide bulbs, ceramic metal halide bulbs, high pressure sodium mercury vapor bulbs, mercury short arc bulbs, and neon bulbs. Material that contains mercury that few realize is poured in place rubberized flooring. This rubberized flooring is a popular flooring surface for school lunchrooms, elementary and junior high school gymnasiums, exercise rooms, and the surface of a track around a football or soccer field. These rubberized floors or tracks are tested for asbestos all the time, but rarely contain asbestos and do not have a mastic layer. Mercury is not always an ingredient of these floors. It sometimes is a catalyst that is used to get the rubber to set up or harden in place. These floors are only occasionally tested for mercury, and because the mercury is believed to be an ingredient, the testing is often done incorrectly. Testing must include some of the substrate, concrete, wood, soil, sand, whatever the rubber is poured onto, below the rubberized surface, as that is where the mercury can settle. Removal of the rubberized flooring allows mercury vapor to be released into the air, whether it's in the rubber or the substrate, potentially exposing floor removal workers and anyone else working in the area where the floors were removed. We use a mercury sniffer to determine air clearance, wipe samples to determine surface clearance. Short-term health effects of high-level exposure to mercury and long-term health effects are listed here. Mercury in high-level short-term exposures can cause inflammation of the lungs, difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, chest pain, dry cough, memory loss, impaired hearing, vision, and speech, tremors, lack of coordination, skin issues, difficult in chewing and swallowing. Long-term mercury exposure can cause weakness, fatigue, anorexia, weight loss, disturbance of gastrointestinal function, deterioration of the nervous system, permanent lung damage, brain damage, kidney damage, blood loss, and damage to your central nervous system. Large amounts of mercury or long-term exposure can lead to death if not treated. Typically, it's treated with chelation, the same technique as we would use to remove lead from your blood. Proper PPE is very important when working with mercury, as mercury can absorb to your skin. It's also a problem if vapors are breathed. At home, rubber dishwashing gloves and maybe booties are enough for a light bulb or two, or even a broken thermometer. For projects, we need Tyvek coveralls, not the paper ones, with a hood. It's important to wear the hood properly. Full face respirator covers the skin of the face better than a half mask and goggles or glasses. Stacked heap of purple and acid gas yellow respirator cartridges. Rubber gloves, more to prevent tears in nitrile or latex gloves than for actual protection from the mercury. What about a broken light bulb or two at home or the office? Evacuate people and pets from the room where the light bulb broke. Close interior doors and open windows to air out the room. Air out the room for 5 to 10 minutes. Wearing gloves, scoop up glass fragments and powder using stiff paper or cardboard. No brooms. Use tape to remove any remaining small glass fragments and powder. Wipe the area clean with soap and water using paper towels or wipes. Place any glass fragments, the cardboard, tape, paper towels or wipes, and gloves into a sealable container or plastic baggie. Place sealable container outdoors in a trash container. Don't do this on a project. This is only for 1 or 2 bulbs that have broken at home. Do not vacuum up anything unless you have a HEPA filtered vacuum. Wash hands thoroughly with soap and water. Air out the room and keep the HVAC shut off in the room where the bulb broke for several more hours. At home or on a project, we want to keep the room as cool as possible. HVAC is sealed off to prevent the fan blowing air into the room and spreading the vapors. Cool temperatures also help prevent the mercury from vaporizing. For home or office cleanup, and for projects where mercury cleanup requires more than just soapy water and HEPA vacuums, there are mercury spill kits. Mercury, being a liquid at room temperature, can get into nooks and crannies, tiny little spaces, very quickly. A spill kit can help prevent the mercury from spreading, seeping into the porous surfaces like carpets, and helps prevent mercury from vaporizing into the air. HEPA filtered vacuums and negative air machines are typically sufficient for mercury cleanup. If available, cleanup can be conducted faster and more efficiently using mercury spill cleanup kits. The kit typically contains specialized treated sponges, absorbent powder, sulfur powder typically, a spray bottle, nitrile latex gloves, we prefer rubber gloves, shoe coverings, a flashlight to make the mercury more visible when looking for it, and small plastic bags to put the waste in. Though rare for Janus to deal with the mercury spill, we have done this work occasionally, a couple of times recently, always clean in a set pattern, top down and one side of the room to the other to avoid missing any spill area and to avoid contaminating clean areas. We were able to clean the floor tiles, the desks, the counters, and the walls, but on this project we ended up having to remove the carpet in order to get the exposure level to an acceptable level, nearly 0. This project used a spill kit in order to get floor wipe samples to a wipe test reading of 0.0 micrograms of mercury per square foot. We had a mercury spill area, we had a decon area, cleanup process where we cleaned in a directional pattern from one end of the area to the other so that we didn't miss anything. This waste container was a 55-gallon metal drum, though we probably could have done 20 of these jobs before we filled it. For small cleanups, 1 to several fluorescent light tubes, a mercury switch, a thermometer worth of mercury, and after wet wiping or use of a mercury spill kit, Janus's typical HEPA filtered negative air machines and vacuums are sufficient. On larger spills, we want to use a mercury specific vacuum. The vacuum on the right has a HEPA filter, but it also has a canister that will capture the liquid mercury. On mercury cleanups using negative pressure containments, where we use negative air units exhausted outdoors and air scrubbers exhausted back into the contained area for several days, we want to put a charcoal filter in the front of the pre-filter on the negative air and scrubbing units. While our HEPA filters can filter the mercury out of the air just fine, we use the charcoal filters to prevent mercury from building up inside our negative air units. Mercury, things to remember. Mercury can absorb through your skin. On projects, all skin should be covered by gloves, coveralls with a hood, and full face respirators. At home or office, gloves and booties are typically sufficient. Number 2, mercury spill kits can significantly reduce the amount mercury spreads or seeps into substrates if applied soon after the spill occurs. Number 3, never use a vacuum to clean up mercury unless it is a HEPA filtered vacuum. Number 4, in a room where a mercury spill has occurred, people should be evacuated immediately. Number 5, rubberized floors and tracks around sports fields often contain mercury in the rubber surface or trapped below the rubber surface. And either way, mercury vapors can be released when the flooring is disturbed. Number 6, mercury is a metal that is a liquid at room temperature. Thank you for taking Janus Corporation's IIPP training on mercury. Please continue to the quiz.